got the only microphone arm with arthritis. It's like the joints kind of bend, but there's like points of motion rather than you can like move it wherever.
Yeah.
And then like
Yeah.
it can't support its own weight. It's pretty hefty.
That's why I go. I just go. Simple.
Yeah, I used to do that, but then like half my comments on YouTube were, why don't you use hotkeys in Empire at War? It's like I have my microphone stand back here, keyboard back here, and I just
That
can't
is the
touch it.
annoying part. You got to kind of. I'm playing Dark Forces 2 right now,
Yeah.
and there's so many buttons. Like, oh, you got 19 different force powers. Thankfully, I'm not there yet, but yeah.
Well, we'll keep everyone posted on this. But hello there, everyone. Welcome to Star Wars Tapcaf Transmissions Andor Edition. We're finally back into the Star Wars Andor season. I'm Corey, joined as always by Mr. Justin, quote, Twitter drama, end quote, Eckhartsladder. How are you doing today, Eck? Who have you made angry?
I was kind of wishing that I had Twitter Blue or Twitter Premium, whatever it's called now, because I've been rolling in the impressions. I could have maybe $20 by now.
I thought you used to have. Did you not reinstate it when you canceled?
When Trump got elected, I canceled it. I took a personal financial loss. I'm still struggling to recover from. But I had a tweet the other day that had 90K likes. That could have been like $20. It's the CPMs are so bad.
Yeah.
Like to actually make any money on Twitter, you need to.
There is a secret to that. Like your CPM is higher if Elon Musk is trying to get you to agree to have one of his babies.
Yeah.
If you're not going to do that, Justin, then
yeah.
Yes. Well, yeah, obviously
you got a brief window.
Yeah. But what a window. Anyway, so we are talking about Andor Season 2 tonight. There's also, I guess, some news from Star Wars Celebration to potentially talk about. Because I guess the last time we did an episode, it feels like we did one during, but we didn't. We can't have.
Yeah, we did one right before. Yeah. We did one on Thursday, so it was right before this Starfighter news. So let's just jump into that, I guess.
Please.
The big news. I'd say it was a kind of a slow celebration, a little bit of a slow celebration. But we did have a new movie announced, Star Wars Starfighter. It's the one, there had been kind of whispers that Ryan Gosling, one of my favorite actors personally, would be in a Star Wars movie. And he's going to be the star in this one. It takes place after Episode 9.
About 5 years, I think, is the gap.
Yeah, so we'll have to do a little bit of heavy lifting in terms of setting the universe up. So I'm quite excited for that, admittedly.
And as a time gap, like that's enough time that they're finally going to be able to let like novels, games, whatever else, tell stories in that period without them dictating the course of the galaxy or immediately getting overwritten. So I think that's an exciting part of it as well.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how they manage that because they will have to. Like he'll be a starfighter pilot of something. So that's fun. So that was one of the big announcements. We already knew Visions Volume 3 was coming, but we are also getting a Ninth Jedi spin-off miniseries, which should be very cool.
Yep.
We're getting follow-ups as well to The Duel, which is like the Ronin story, and what is it called? The Bride? Something Bride.
The Wedding Bride?
The Princess Bride.
Where Jed Mosley is.
Yeah. No, but yeah, so that one as well. So those 3 stories are getting follow-ups. Other than that, there was a short teaser for The Mandalorian and Grogu, which was not aired. And there's a really cool, did you see the teaser for Ahsoka Season 2? It was like a concept art teaser.
I don't think I saw that one. I did see the footage for Mando and Grogu, though.
It was...
No, it was that was the Ahsoka one was the one that was like the old style.
Yeah.
It
looks weird. It looks really weird. I'm excited.
So for anyone who didn't see it, it was basically they had like an old show style voiceover, like the adventures of Ahsoka, and Ezra Bridger, the whole crew, like that kind of thing.
She's like fighting robots from it's like a galaxy's dark history or something. Anyway, then the other big thing we got was a new show, Maul Shadow Lord, which I'll admit initially I wasn't very excited for, but it does seem like they could be picking up on some of George Lucas's ideas for Maul training an
Twi'lek.
apprentice. Yeah, a sexy Twi'lek apprentice.
So,
So
so if the thing with that, like, isn't not Darth Talon. Like, if they use the name Darth Talon, is there
I
any
think they are going
change
to.
to the character that could make that not Darth Talon? And if they don't use the name Darth Talon, are there any characteristics that can make it like? Because
Well,
Darth
that's the
Talon is
beautiful
functionally
thing.
not a character, right?
Exactly.
Like,
That's the beautiful thing. And no one's read the comics. Who will be angry about it? I'll be like, oh yeah, what's your favorite thing Darth Talon ever did? The beach episode. No.
but yeah. So I'm kind of mixed on that. Like, I almost wish Maul hadn't been killed. I like the episode of Rebels where Maul was killed,
Yeah.
but I feel like unless they're using the Twi'lek apprentice as like a way to kind of have that effect ripple on more, and we also have like Kira and stuff for that. But like, it just feels like we have such a cap on Maul that like I don't know how impactful he'll really be. But I also felt like I wasn't super interested in Bad Batch when it was announced, and I love Bad Batch now, so I'm
Mhm.
cautiously optimistic. Also, it's great to see one of the boys we stream with get their own show, right?
Yeah, of
Nice
course.
to see Sam
Uh,
make it.
yeah, he's been struggling. For those who missed who are new, we did used to play Squadrons with Sam Witwer. He's a wonderfully nice man.
Yes. Have we
He'll
told
do
that
impressions.
story on the? We must have.
Oh, you go ahead and tell it.
So yeah, we were streaming with Sam Witwer, and we had Charlie, former podcast guest who and X2 stream partner, who some of you may remember. He hasn't been on the X2 streams in a while either. That's okay.
A
We're not
few
mad
weeks
about it.
before, I think. Yeah.
But Charlie didn't know who Sam Witwer was, but he started talking about like rumors for Star Wars projects coming up. And like Charlie, bless his heart, doesn't know the most about Star Wars to begin with.
Especially back then, it
Yeah.
was really checked out.
So he started talking about like rumors for the Force Unleashed 3, like with no clue who he
The
was
guy that
talking
plays the
to.
main character. Yeah, that
It's a
was
great stream clip, but yeah.
yeah. So that was really fun. I messaged Sam a few times on Twitter. He's super friendly. We used to play with him and a couple of the Squadrons guys and some of the EA guys. Very, very, very fun time. You know what? And he's also a good Squadrons player too. A good ass.
And a good
He used to
friend.
play and a good friend. He used to play Interceptor.
Yeah.
And we make him do backflips. But yeah, we also got for news. We got Rory McCann. I think he had been previously confirmed.
It was at least
At least
rumored.
had a
I don't know if it
trade.
was confirmed, but yeah.
Maybe not officially, but we got to look at him as Balin. He looks good. Obviously, you can never fully replace what came before, but I think he should bring some
Yeah.
interesting take to the character. Where because like his character in Game of Thrones is very similar. He's stoic, strong. You know, he's I was gonna say he's like a mountain, but I shouldn't say that because his brother in the show is named the Mountain.
He's like a
But
hound.
he is like a mountain in that he seems like unmovable, and yeah. So I think that will play into Balin quite well.
Yeah.
Obviously it won't be the same, but it should still be good.
Yeah.
My question about Ahsoka season 2: are we getting Abaloth, Corey?
I think so.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
me
say
too.
yes, but like it's kind of the same thing as the Darth Talon thing of like, what are the qualities that make Abaloth Abaloth? I think we're probably more likely than not we're gonna get something called Abaloth, unless they're just sticking with the trio. But like I would not be I would be more surprised if Abaloth wasn't part of it than not. Even though it'll be like super obnoxious because like how many of the people who complain about or who talk about Abaloth have touched a single page of Fate of the Jedi?
Exactly what I tweeted out. Like Abaloth has to be like the further you get away from the Thrawn trilogy. Actually, that's not true because everyone knows Thrawn. Not that many people. I mean, a lot of people have read it, but compared to like the overall Star Wars fans, but the further you get away from like the Clone Wars,
Yeah.
in terms of like books, fewer and fewer people have read any of it. Like you'll see that when you watch like Star Wars YouTubers, and they'll like
Yeah.
they don't know whose kids are who. Like Ben Skywalker, Jason, or sorry, Ben Solo and Jason Skywalker. Like you see it all the time. But yeah, Abaloth. We'll get to her when we do Fate of the Jedi, and we still have a lot of time, so I assume we will be in Fate of the Jedi by the time that's coming out.
Yeah.
Um,
That'd be
so
really nice, actually.
pepper your Anguses for that.
We are getting asked by Wyatt, was Abaloth a Filoni creation or Troy Denning's creation? She was the Fate of the Jedi trio authors, because that was made by 3 different authors. They do say thanks to Dave Filoni in the books. So I think Filoni was aware of her at the time. Back then, much smaller stature, but not as busy. But none of this is to be like, oh, if you haven't read Fate of the Jedi, you're a lesser being or something. That's not what we mean. Just that there's such a mythos that has been built up around her as this super important part of the lore, and a lot of that is because of lore YouTubers talking about her a lot, and fan art. You have the picture you commissioned that more people have probably seen than actually read Fate of the Jedi. Yep. So there's these other ideas that are built up, and I think a lot of Star Wars is like this, where when you're talking about it as if it's a universe that exists on its own, it can seem one way, even if that's what the books are representing. But when you get to the actual books, then the significance of the thing in the book is not always commensurate with the significance in the YouTube thumbnail.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people who think they maybe have a good idea of what Abaloth is don't, because they're essentially reading the Wikipedia article regurgitated to them in several different ways. If you watch, listen, I'm just gonna say, if you watch one of Corey or my YouTube videos on Abaloth, it's going to be different than almost every other YouTube video about Abaloth on YouTube, because we've read the books. And I'm not really trying to throw shade. I think if you asked most of the other YouTubers, let's be real, have you read Fate of the Jedi? Most of them would say no.
Yeah. Ash guys talking about Legends fans like we're fucking boomers on Social Security. Well, Legends fans are certainly getting older, so yeah, there are less. We're not that old.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so it'll be fun. You guys will get to experience it with us. And if you do just want to, if you want to read Fate of the Jedi, I would say if you missed up until now, you're okay, but start with Legacy of the Force, probably.
Yeah. But yeah, so there was also Zero Company, which we talked about a bit more, I think, last week's
kind of exactly what we expected, I think.
Yeah. So I'm still excited for it. But as far as it being a smaller celebration for news, I think in some ways that's a good thing, because there was so much announced before where it was a bunch of new stuff coming all the time that we just didn't see much of ever again. Whereas this year it was there was still a lot of news. It's just it's news about stuff we already knew was coming, meaning that things are actually going somewhere. So we got the most solid information on movies that we've gotten so far. We know Mando and Grogu is happening. We know at least 3 other movies are actually happening.
Yeah.
There's a bit of news about the Taika thing. Where
they mentioned that.
Writer, but
it's the Obey Shinoy trilogy with that one's in the works. So, but for everything that they actually talked about, I do have, I do believe it's happening. So.
Yeah, which is so different from the last few years. It's not really exclusive to Celebration. I think Celebration has been more solid of things talked about there have felt bigger or more likely. But in game news, we've had something new rumored all the time, and Zero Company is definitely happening. KOTOR remake, who knows? There was a Star Wars Eclipse thing where there was a fake Twitter account, and a lot of people went for that, but not real.
Only there was a way to verify.
Yeah. So I changed my name to Real Star Wars Eclipse in all caps and posted, "Hey, it's me, your Star Wars Eclipse." I think I tricked a few more people with that, but yeah.
Yeah, well, that's good.
All right. Anything else from Celebration before we get on to Andor? If then?
I don't think so. Yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be. There's not a lot coming for this year, really. We've got Andor, we've got Tales of the Empire,
Underworld.
And is that it?
Isn't Vision season 3 this year?
Oh yeah, Vision season 3. Yeah, that's right.
So yeah. Yeah, I guess the next show is Ahsoka in 2026. And I guess
Yeah,
Maul
or
would be
Maul,
starting
I
earlier.
guess. Yeah. Yeah, so we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
All right.
No
Well,
book news. That was disappointing. Not really.
well,
There was a little bit
there
of
is
High
book
Republic
news
stuff, but
where I just got my physical copy of The Acolyte Wayseeker, which is very
I'm gonna
short
give a slight
actually.
spoiler for the book because we're allowed to now. It's written in first person.
Who's first person? I literally just got it before we started. I haven't opened the
I
ebook.
think there's a couple characters it's written in
Oh,
from their
okay.
perspective.
Anyways, so it seems like it's actually a fairly quick read, so we might be able to talk about that, but I don't know if you actually want to.
I ain't reading that.
So I will.
I might read it.
I need to
I got
start a
the audiobook. I
Tapcaf
might read it.
Transmissions sub show where I just have
Yeah.
a different guest talking about all the books you don't want to talk about.
Subspace transmissions or
Isn't that like a mother thing?
tap calf bar shots.
That seems even more intense.
Tap calf last call. I don't know.
That's when we have our duel.
You can brainstorm it. I'm not brainstorming it.
No, Subspace Emissary is just Super Smash Bros. I'm sorry. But anyways, we have Andor season 2, the first 3 episodes. And there was the keynote, the top news of the day is of course Tony Gilroy for some reason brought up the Rakans again.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't know if it's him doing that. I feel like if he's just like, look,
yeah, asking Pablo, what's something old that I can turn into a wedding present?
like let's make these losers who are like, let's make these losers who are listening to all this political nonsense. Let's throw them at least something.
Need some glorps in there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the one thing I did want to mention is so the Disney Plus did send out to outlets reviewing the show the entire season, which is a very good sign, I would say. So, IGN, YouTubers, podcasts with 50 listeners, podcasts with 6 listeners, they were all reviewing the show, and it got really, really, really well reviewed.
Yeah.
I think like any issue that people might have with season 2, it seems fairly obvious already. Like I can see what people might not like about this season because the format is just so different.
Yeah.
Where we are getting my favorite thing to say, slices of these each year where it's like a particularly important, 24, 48, 72 hours. And then, next episode is not going to be them escaping that planet. It's going to be a complete year later.
Yeah.
So
in some ways it is like each season is a show I would have loved to watch. But
right.
yeah, the original plan with the show was that it was going to be 5 seasons, but Diego Luna, I think, didn't want to commit to that, and
I can't blame him.
yeah, which
Can't blame
that would have
anyone for not
been,
wanting
yeah,
to.
even Disney, like that'd be a big commitment
I
to
don't
do
think
off the top.
they might not have gotten through the end of it.
Yeah,
yeah,
we'd get to the
it
end
would
of
have been
season 2, and there'd be like a Darth Plagueis peeking around the corner, and then he just every time he shows up, they just cancel the show.
Would have been a different show. But yeah, it reviewed extremely well. So I'm really excited. I'm sad that it's almost over already. We're 25% of the way through season 2, which is kind of sad to say because it was an excellent, in my opinion, first 3 episodes. And I'm sure the show is going to end with quite a bang as well. What was your kind of quick thoughts before we go into more detail?
Yeah, overall, like I really enjoyed it. I think I liked these 3 more than the first 3 episodes of Andor, season 1.
Yeah.
And I do think there are some benefits to the format, even if I would still prefer that each episode was potentially just released once a week for my own sanity. Because in a lot of ways, I've just kind of given up on the idea that I'd actually cover it in any kind of depth. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but the I feel like they are a little bit tighter. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so that much is good. It was kind of weird how much like comic relief almost the rebels were, but
Yeah, that was the one. I didn't care for that segment too much.
mhm. The
Um,
rock paper
thankfully, it
scissors
was
didn't do it for
only
you.
yeah. Thankfully, it was only like 1/5 of 2 episodes, and then they were completely moved on by the end of episode 2. And people said, and I understand why they did it. I suppose they were trying to show kind of the state of the alliance at this point and how it's less of an alliance, and even like the sub factions aren't getting along. But I feel like there could have been a way to show that without it being kind of the same. Like Zach was saying to me, it felt like it was the same scene like 6 times,
Yeah,
um, which I totally agree. Uh, and it was one of those shows generally where I thought they were doing such a good job, like because these are long episodes, and it's watching an entire movie or longer than a movie in one sitting, essentially. But it's like Oppenheimer in a way, where the scenes in this season, especially, they're short, they're really really well done, and by the time like one scene might um, start to overdo its welcome, you're somewhere else
yeah,
pretty quickly. Um, and I thought the one exception to that was when they were on Yavin, because I just thought it was kind of boring. Like I knew the characters weren't going to matter really. I knew they were probably going to die or be left. So I didn't even really feel an attachment to any of them. So I was glad when they were done that for sure.
yeah. I think both the Imperial scenes and those scenes gave kind of a good idea of the dynamics involved in both sides and their lives, essentially. Where like with the Imperials, you have that conference, which has been compared to the Wannsee conference, uh, of like all the Nazis talking about the Holocaust, which I don't know if it's entirely that. Like I think it is it it's just such a mundane thing they're doing, right? Like all
Yeah.
of the stuff that the Imperials did in this episode, or in these 3 episodes rather, was as mundane as possible. Like they're talking about doing this stuff that is going to entirely devastate a planet, with Gorman. Like you watch the little ad for Gorman spiders, making their Gorman silk, but they need it for the calcite,
Hmm.
to coat the lenses for all this, for Palpatine's unlimited power program. And so we're getting to the Death Star there, and like they're talking about this like horrifying shit, and yeah, they're doing it as banal as possible.
Hmm.
Where like you see these Imperials just going for like their little snack breaks in the middle of doing all
Yeah.
this, and then beyond that, you have the
Like eating a muffin.
scenes,
Like, have you considered simply radiating all of the children?
yeah, and like we're getting the the other scenes with like Daedra and Cyril, and even Daedra and Ra, fuck, what's his name? Her
The
boss. I don't know why his name's escaping me right now.
Partizag? Isn't
Rada
it Partizag?
Parthagaz?
Isn't it Partagaz? Yeah,
Parthagaz, yeah.
Partizag or Partagaz.
Parthagaz.
Yeah.
Where they're basically just talking about like career advancement, right? Like uh and there is an element of him saying like, oh, once you're working for Krennic, he just cares about the results. So you're free to do this operation how you want to. But a lot of that is just like this banal idea of career advancement when they're talking about like
Yeah. An
essentially
entire
genocide.
planet. Yeah.
Uh,
Like, yeah, the planet might break apart. Like, yeah,
yeah.
well, way she
So
goes.
meanwhile, on the other side, you have the rebels who are like different rebel cells who are facing this down, and on like the lower class end of that, you have Maya Pei's rebel cell that is kind of fractured without her, uh, and they're doing rock paper scissors to decide who's going to be in charge of stuff. They're shooting at each other. They're doing literally nothing to hurt the Empire. They're about to kill the one guy who's actually got something going on that might hurt the Empire.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the kind of upper class side of it, you have Mon Mothma trying to put together this, like, a political coalition and also fund these kinds of rebels that are just doing this random bullshit as well. But their funding might go away because, surprise, surprise, a billionaire got divorced and now wants to go over to the fascists. So,
yeah, I don't even know if that's like
time.
really what he wanted. I think he was just like vaguely angry, like nothing is going his way.
Yeah, he only
and
cares
he's
about his
seeing,
money.
like-
He's not actually interested in the material conditions of what's going on, other than his own. But
I don't even know if that's what it is. Like, I think it was like manifesting as money, but I think like just generally his like life was falling apart, and like everyone came out on top except him. You know what I mean? Like Mothma, you know, it seems like she's got to do a sacrifice, but she's got this wedding and she's got this new thing at her house, the statue, this recovered statue.
like, that's such an insane thing too, of like one of the most treasured parts of their planet's culture, just as a wedding
Yeah.
gift to these people. How, like, they'd, sorry, Mon Mothma, but also your family will be part of the guillotine party at the end of.
Yeah, you're getting it. You absolutely are getting it. What was I gonna say? Yeah, I really like that, and I like the idea that there are some people who just don't have the like the nuts or the fortitude or the right stuff to like hold the secrets of the rebellion. And like once you make that mistake and trust the wrong person, like they gotta go. And
Yeah.
I really like that scene. I really like that scene where Luthen's like, well, like what's got to be done, and Mon Mothma's like, what does that even mean? And he's like, how lucky you are not to know,
Yeah.
or something like that.
Then,
He's like, yeah, this motherfucker's done some cold shit while you're prancing around.
yeah,
Coruscant.
so far she has gotten to be in many ways insulated from it, even if it does involve like some level of sacrifice
There'll be
from her.
bunkers in the war rooms later, but
Yeah,
not yet.
like there was the interview. I think it was like the direct or something. It's like, oh, it's she's just like Nancy Pelosi doing the right thing. Like, what the fuck
He's
are you
like,
talking
yeah,
about?
no, I definitely did not base her on Nancy Pelosi. The fuck is Nancy Pelosi?
We've got the upcoming insider trading and shutting down the progressive wing of the party arc for Mon Mothma.
Yeah,
Unless AOC is like Saw Gerrera or something.
It would be like Nancy Pelosi if she wasn't doing all the secret stuff that Mon Mothma was doing and was just like having the wedding and like she's just like
it's
doing
the wedding scene
wedding.
played straight.
Yeah, like that's it. No secrets, no money, like just I need someone to move this money without the Empire noticing. Oh, are you trying to fund rebel cells? No, I accidentally did insider trading.
She's got a conference coming up with Space Martha Stewart.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say something that might be controversial. I'm going to defend Perrin a little bit.
You know, I've always been a Perrin.
No, I'm not defending his general behavior, but the speech he gave, a lot of people seem to be taking that as him saying, the old ball and chain will ruin it for you. But I don't think that's at all what he was saying.
No, I don't think
he was saying like their role together is to look through life for the fun. Like, life sucks, but your job together is to look through that in the partnership you have to find the joyous moments. And as much as the problem with him as a character or as a person is that he's doing what a lot of people would do, and he's going along with these atrocities because it doesn't impact him and he's able to get along with the people involved in it. But what I think he's saying that is like real there is that for the people who are struggling to make things better, like for anyone, they have to be for any enjoyment to come out of life, you have to be willing to find it. And you can see elements of Mon Mothma and Perrin's relationship where they do have like some kind of bond, even if their marriage is unhealthy because of how it was impacted by them kind of being forced together by this cultural tradition that they probably didn't lean into the same way that Leida seems to be leaning into it or thinking that it's something she wants to do. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's just because of reading Mask of Fear, where you get more of that element of their relationship, where you get more of Mon Mothma's thoughts about it and how they
Yeah.
used to have this connection, they grew apart. But I don't think like that scene was him saying Mon Mothma ruined my life. I think that's highlighting
No,
the
I didn't think
disconnect
so.
between them because Mon Mothma is not able to find those moments, but Mon Mothma is not able to find those moments because she is doing something that is more important. Uh, but like that is their fundamental disconnect. But that part isn't what makes Perrin an unsympathetic character.
Yeah, I mean, like Perrin, it's too simple to say that he's all bad.
Yeah,
He's just like someone who he may have had good intentions at the start, but he's kind of been worn down in a different way from like some who have been worn down by the cruelty. He's kind of been worn down in the opposite way by the opulence.
yeah,
And we see him in Mask of Fear, and it's the opposite kind of end of their relationship at the not at the beginning, but right after the fall of the Republic, and he is different. Like you can see kind of the starting point to where he is now,
yeah.
but I do think he's going to do something that will redeem him, or at least make him more complex in the eyes of some of his haters. And I already think there's some people seeing that with like how he did seem concerned at the end with like he's like, what is going on with Mothma seems to be having a panic attack on the dance floor right now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I think that's most of what's going on with Perrin right now. Maybe we'll see a bit more of him. But with Leida's situation, like a big part of what she's doing does seem to involve like your classic teenage rebellion of like
Yeah.
just going to whatever your parents don't want. Uh,
Hmm.
and in I guess the that current moment, like that's part of what
Whoop,
drives her
whoop.
toward. Yep. I defended Perrin, so I'm getting they're coming for me. I guess I'm probably doxing myself if anyone's like also in Ottawa and hears those sirens too. It's like, oh, Corey's down the road, but just say hi if you want
Boring
to.
City, they've only got one crime going on at once.
No, we just got the one ambulance, one police car. Way too many police cars, but one ambulance. But yeah, anything else? Anything with the wedding with Leida that you want to touch on? The Mon Mothma family.
Luthen is just so funny.
Yeah.
Like him like getting that kid, pumping that kid for information
Mm-hmm.
was so funny. Just like, oh, where are you deploy? Where are the deployments now? Like just in the middle of the dance floor. He's so yeah, he's so extra. I don't think you would you'd expect he's got that dark Shakespearean rebel leader underneath his flamboyant personality.
Would it have killed the family to invite a few non-humans? Like
Seriously, right?
none in the rebel
Maybe it
cell,
would
none
have.
in the wedding. Like maybe Borsk was
Maybe
right.
it would have. Maybe we're at the point where like aliens like maybe it's like an appearance thing. If you want to be in Imperial high society, you can't be mixing elbows and tentacles.
Yeah,
But we
like
did see some nice aliens on the farm world. I thought one of them was Gree, like a Gree species from Fallen Order, but no, Grease rather, but it wasn't.
yeah,
Only two arms.
yeah, the Gree and Grease are not the
No,
same.
you see the Stargate? That was so sick.
Well, no, that was the Qua. They had the Stargaze.
What did the
The
Gree
the
have?
Gree had the mass relays, basically, I think.
Wow. Okay.
They each
Oh,
committed
the
their own
slingshots,
kinds
right?
of yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The you have the network and Tor that's still kind of up. But
Yeah. I can't. I don't want to play that game. So. Hmm,
okay. I wasn't asking you to
I know. I
anymore.
just making sure everyone knew.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you felt the need to tell us all what we're allowed to enjoy.
Um. Yeah, I did see some funny tweets about like Exarchun
In?
showing up. Like, yeah, that's sigil on the back of that tree. That's Exarchun's sigil. He's going to be in Arc 3.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't been there yet, so they're clearly saving him for something. They're just not gonna not use Exar Kun,
No,
the inventor of the
no,
double-bladed lightsaber.
yeah, no, he's going to be there.
Yeah,
He is canon, so
Cassian's gonna have a lightsaber duel with Exar Kun.
I'd love that. Actually, B2 is. He's going to show up on a jetpack.
I get sad every time I see B2.
Cassian, where's
Cassian.
like we thought C3PO had bad anxiety.
Yeah,
This is a droid with anxiety.
why program him with that?
Yeah, he doesn't need to suffer. I do like how like remember in season 1 Braso stayed with him when Marva was after she died. He stayed like he stayed with the droid. Like don't leave B2 alone. It's like a dog.
I could
And then
never.
in this one, Braso he like comforts him. He like gets down on his level and rubs his head. Like come on,
Yeah,
how sweet.
I would have the worst stress dreams if B2 was real and I was responsible for him. Just uh, someday either
Yeah,
this droid will die or I will die, and I will be sad either way.
I pray that it's me. I like they had a little picture of Marva up in their hut too. They're not even a hut, like the little.
I think that was like the ship,
It was a
right?
painting. I'm not
Like
sure.
their
Might have
house
been.
was like Brasso's ship with like
Was it?
tents exposed and expanded from it, right?
I didn't notice that. All
I
I
think
know is
so.
that like the opening scene, it looked very cozy until
Yeah.
Bix had her nightmare. But like the breeze coming off the grass, the kid was sleeping in the hammock. Brasso already wifed up,
Love to see it.
which like a thick, sexy woman too, which like you don't get that much in Star Wars. I saw a lot of people very excited about that on Twitter. They're like, finally we got some thick women in Star Wars. I was wondering where they were.
Well, it doesn't last because R.I.P. to a real one. Probably
He
the
might have been
realest one.
probably the realest one. Like, can you have Brasso's never done anything wrong? First or episode 1 or 2, he covers for Cassian. He helps incite the rebellion. He smacks that guy with the funerary stone. He is just always there. He's comforting B2. He's taking care of Marva. In one of his last moments, he helps save that other farmer by keeping the Empire off of him. Just like real G. No, like I tweeted this. Like no wonder he had a wife. I mean, I don't know whether they're actually married, but he was wifed up within a year.
Yeah.
Like because how could you not be? Plus, he's pretty attractive as well, especially with that beard.
Yeah, like he what else could you want in a character, a partner,
Handy
a
as well.
friend?
Lover.
That's what I meant by partner.
You can be a lover without being a partner.
Okay. Well, all of the above. All of the above. Yeah. On the other hand, fuck Tacoma.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's dead.
Do you think that see, I don't know, maybe I was reading too much into this, but I thought that I couldn't remember whether it was implied in season 1 that he and Mothma had some romantic relationship. I know Perrin kind of talks about it, but I thought that might have been a bit of the undertone as well.
Yeah, like they seem to have like something, but I don't know if it was maybe it's just because of like again Mask of Fear where we have the other senator who's Mon Mothma's affair partner, but
Yeah.
I don't know, like other than Tacoma being rich, it's not like he is better than Perrin in any significant way. Like he doesn't have even Perrin's redeeming quality. He's just rich businessman.
Yep.
Other than like Mon Mothma liking him more, which like great, that choose your own partner. But from just analyzing the character sheet in D&D situation, he's not statted up or aligned any better than Perrin is.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. And he's, you know, he's happy to help for a minute, but when things get tough, he's like Mon was even about to maybe not make him whole, but was gonna help.
Yeah, Mon Mothma was about to ask about his hole and didn't even get the chance.
Yeah.
Luthen just wanted to know about that hole, and Mon Mothma was saying, I'm going to find the hole next week, but Cinta's getting there first.
Yeah, I was very just seeing her in that limo driver's outfit. I got a good chuckle. I think she's like the coldest, the, the coldest individual in the rebellion right now.
Do you think this Cinta and Vel to Cintas Vel?
I don't know, but I made that. I kept calling Vel Cintas and Cintas Vel, and then I googled Cintas Vel. I was like, that's the Legends character.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think it was intentional, but it's pissing me off.
Okay. No matter what, it's still a better name than Steck and Skulden.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And Leida saying that Stekken's such a child, like, yeah.
You're 14.
He's what,
You're
15
allowed to
now?
be.
Yeah. He is,
Yeah.
in
You're
fact, a
supposed to be.
literal child.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
too young. Too young.
Yeah, I mean, they're too young, but you know, she's embracing it, the tradition, because it's the exact opposite of what her mom wants.
I mean, maybe I'm sure there's other factors in there as well, but
Yeah,
like it's
I'm sure.
still the reactionary kids being reactionary, listening to Space Andrew Tate podcasts.
Yeah,
Not
you got
great.
to return to tradition.
Yeah.
Embrace traditional gender roles. Cut the braid off.
I'm not giving this back.
This is mine now. I'm gonna make it into a purse.
But
I was trying to think like how many times have we been to Chandrilla, and the one that I keep thinking about is Rogue Squadron for the N64.
you can actually see that
makes
battle in
sense.
the background.
I thought so. I thought that's what those TIE bombers were doing.
Yeah. I want to know
That's
where
cool.
the other 7 surviving statues are, though.
Probably in Palpatine's office in Revenge of the Sith.
That was actually Palpatine's wedding gift to Mon Mothma's kid. I don't need
Wasn't
all
one
of
of
them. It's
them?
uneven. I only need.
Yeah. There was a guy from Naboo in the episode, wasn't there? Am I remembering that correctly? It was just like a random guy at
Yes.
the party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There
Should have
was
been
like
Jar
one
Jar
other
Binks.
senator. Yeah, that I Jar Jar has to come back someday. And
I would love a fully serious Jar Jar in Andor.
Andor Jar Jar would be peak. Like I
It
know
would be.
isn't he like in disgrace or something already? That
Not by
happens pretty
yet. 'Cause
quickly.
that's in. It happens in. That's in the Aftermath trilogy, but it's like in an aside, so I don't
Oh,
really
if
remember
it's
what the
aftermath, who
timing.
gives a shit?
Yeah, but it. Yeah, exactly. Trash.
No, like who cares? Not gonna.
Oh yeah, that's like people were arguing with me about like, oh they're not going to retcon X. Like you guys don't understand. Like nothing has changed. If they want it to happen in the TV show, it's going to happen in the TV show. Like John Favreau is going to say, yeah, I want Glup Shido in this shot because I when I was a kid I really liked his armor, and the resident nerd on staff is be like, actually, he was killed in the StarWars.com exclusive article Heads or Tails, a fight to the death. So, unfortunately, that's not going to be possible. And in fact, his death was also confirmed in 16 comic books, all with traced art. And he's gonna be like, yeah, but no one cares.
Yeah,
And he's going to be right.
that's not true. There'll be complaints about it on Twitter. Look,
Yeah,
I would
nobody.
love a perfectly consistent Star Wars universe, but as
Leash Discord.
I did a video about this with a little show called The Clone Wars, but
Mm.
that's just not how shit works. You just need to accept
No,
that,
it's not.
and it doesn't mean that either thing is just not part of the continuity. Andor's not part of canon because it says Andor's homeworld is not wherever
Fest.
the whatever, what was it?
Fest.
Yeah, they
The
said
place where you
Fest.
rescue the
Yeah.
ATPT.
And instead it's like, oh
Slytherin,
no,
Jedi Knight,
that was
Dark One.
misinformation. Like, okay, that's what they say, and now we're moving on with our lives. And that's just what happened.
Yeah, like it's just it's just capitalism. Like at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's not because movies are inherently or shows are inherently a higher art form. It's just the fact that 100,000 people are going to read this book, 10 million people are going to watch this show. So whatever's best for the show is what comes first.
Not even whatever's best
That's
for the
just
show. Whatever the people making the show want to do. Like, people making Star Wars, especially on the visual side, they don't think about it that way. They don't think
Mhm.
about it as like, oh, the highest priority is making sure there is this canon that consists between everything. Like, they think of that as a fun side thing more than anything. Like,
'Cause there's
oh,
no
we can pull
reason
from this, we can
Aldani
pull from
couldn't
that.
have
Yeah.
been fast. Like Aldani could have been fast.
Yeah.
Just make it snowy, but like Tony Gilroy didn't want it to be fast, so it
Yeah.
wasn't. He's like, I want a jungle world. Like man's getting a jungle world.
Yeah, like you're for all the like any like big name director that they want to get, or even an up and coming director. Like the people who want to come in and do something artistic, like they're if you start telling them like you have to abide by every single bit of published media before, then you're going to have a lot less interest from the people actually making the show. Uh,
Mhm.
if you tell them, oh, well, George did this and you need to do this with the movies, that's a different story. Or even just like, oh, we already did this show, you have to do this. They'll push back more on that, most likely. But when you get down to like comic books, source books, novels, for better or for
Yeah,
worse, they're not going to be like, oh, well, this is the be all end all.
yeah, and I think you're right in that some people get a kick out of that. Like Trevorrow with his episode 9 script, he clearly did get a kick out of drawing from
Yeah.
prior sources because he had references to legend stories, he had references to things from canon. So clearly, like that was something that he enjoyed and that he used to help him with the writing process.
Yeah.
But like someone like Tony Gilroy, who doesn't seem to be like a Star Wars super fan, he kind of just wants to tell whatever story he wants to tell, and then the nerds can make it work, basically.
Well, there's
Like K2SO is almost certainly going to get a different backstory in this than
yeah.
what he's had in the past.
In
And
some
like,
ways, it's worse for them to know more of it because like Dave Filoni knew more about the expanded universe than pretty much anyone else who has worked on these or former shows. So then it's just more obvious to people that he is not following it or whatever, or he'll be more likely to pull something obscure out and then change how it's used.
mhm.
Whereas with say someone like Tony Gilroy, the writer's room there, other than like specific fans who are there and like the people who are on the writer staff and are bigger fans are more likely to propose stuff how it's used. But they're less likely to say, "Oh, I want to use this thing, but I want to use it entirely differently." They're more likely to
Yep.
ask, like, "I want to do something like X. What can I use for X?" And then they're told whatever.
Yep.
Rather than like, "Oh, well,
Yeah.
Asajj Ventress, that's a cool character, but also now she's from Dathomir.
Yeah, exactly.
What are you gonna do?"
Um, yeah, what are you going to do? So that's that arc. We've talked about the.
The
I guess we
wedding
haven't
a
talked
fair
about the
bit.
Tie Fighter arc.
We haven't talked
Yeah,
about TIE Fighter. We haven't talked about. I guess like we talked about Brasso dying, which I think
yeah,
is
we
the
didn't
most
talk really.
important part of that. Other than like we'll
Yeah.
get to Bix as well. I think we should talk about that.
hmm
Um,
hmm
so the TIE Fighter arc and Bix, I think, are the main things we're still missing.
Yeah. Well, we didn't talk about Cyril and Dedra, which maybe just briefly. That arc was.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I wish that they weren't, like bootlicking fascists because it was nice seeing someone actually stand up for Cyril for once.
But I think that's part of it where like they're still people, but they're bootlicking
Yeah.
fascists. And
Yeah.
that's part of it. And then like They're just it's so sterile though too.
Yeah.
Like the whole before Edie's there, it's just like the
But
music's
they
playing and
do
they're
seem
silent.
happy in their own way. Like, it's sterile, but I think that's kind of how they want it to be.
Yeah.
Um, and like it's sterile ordinarily, but then like their ordinary level isn't enough for his mother. He thinks
Yeah. And
he's like
then
straightening shit up.
she gets to ream her out.
The
I don't think that's
going to
realistic
lie on
though.
the what's that?
I don't think that's realistic. That's not how those kind of parents react in that situation. I don't think.
Maybe they respect the power respects power. I will say though, going to lie on your bed, like every time I go to my parents' house, and I love like my parents are not difficult at all, but like I got 3 kids. I go to my parents' house, they start playing with the kids. I go downstairs in my old bedroom and I just like lie on my bed for like 5 minutes.
Is your bedroom intact?
No, no, not at all. Unfortunately.
But it's still like your childhood home and everything.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's the one that I had since I was like grade 8 or
Hmm.
grade 7. Yeah.
It is kind of funny though
Yep.
that like you could basically see into that room, but yeah.
What? My childhood home?
No, I was talking about Cyril being like 5 feet away, just around an open
Oh
corner.
yeah,
But
yeah.
and
You could tell
then
if you just look. Yeah.
look, I'd
So
love for my childhood home to still exist, but it's been repossessed from 3 families since mine, including mine, 3 including mine.
it's haunted, maybe
I think it's
by your mom, perhaps.
no, she didn't die in that house. Would have
Yeah,
been
maybe she went
two.
back there to haunt it.
Well, so
But I thought that's why you lost. I thought it was like a
no, so it was so the owners who had it prior to us, uh, that woman died from breast cancer while living there, and then the people who had it after us, that woman was also diagnosed with breast cancer. She's alive, I think. We don't know her personally, but
Mhm.
so the day my mom was diagnosed, my mom was like kind of sick in some way we didn't understand for a while. Everyone thought she was just like having strokes or something. So she hadn't been able to work much for a few months. So the same day we got her cancer diagnosis, we got the notice from the bank that said, "LOL, our
Oh
house now,
god.
bitch." Uh,
Yeah.
so they lived at my sister's place for a while, and then there was an apartment, and that's what I moved into when
Right.
I went to stay with them for a while. So it was
Right.
just a different apartment,
Right.
not my house.
Not a fun story,
No,
admittedly.
it's fine. Everything worked.
I
No, no.
don't know if that's. I mean, for you, I suppose.
Yeah. So uh, Edie did not have fun. I mean,
What do you mean?
actually, no. What she actually seemed to have fun. I take that back.
Yeah,
I think she got something out of that
I
little
think she
back
got a
and
kick
forth
out
with
of it.
Idra.
Like, I
Yeah,
don't think anyone's ever. I don't think her
challenged her.
son's ever stood up for her ever. Stood up to her ever. So
So that's nice for them. I think there's gonna be a bunch more coming with Idra and Cyril in the next arc. So, or arcs at
yeah,
least.
yeah.
But the TIE fighter, we got Cassian
Um,
stealing a TIE fighter, not knowing how to pilot it really, feeling like me trying to fly back into the hangar in squadrons,
yeah, you accidentally
ramming into
set
the
yourself to
ramp at the bottom
inverted.
of the
Oh yeah,
MC-75.
yeah, yeah. Side of the MC-75, wasn't it?
No, like when you were
That was
coming
the
into
bottom. Yeah, that was the bottom.
you're coming into the bottom, and there was
Yeah,
like that one little ramp, that little lip that
yeah,
wasn't on the ISDs, and you just fucking would
yeah.
ram into it every time. Were those lasers
Um.
supposed to be? Was there like the one special laser, or were they all just regular lasers?
So I did a video on this yesterday. The thing is, a lot of guns.
Yeah,
So
you
at
can see
first
them
I
all
thought,
better on the fucking art station thing that it was posted on. What 10 years ago?
yeah. When I first thought it was firing, so we see it fire those little rotary cannons,
Mm-hmm.
like the anti-personnel guns. We see it fire the rockets and the missiles because it's got 3 sets of like racks on the wings,
Mhm.
and 2 of them are of one variant, which I think are rockets, and then the one on the port side I think is like they look more like missiles. I think
Yeah.
that's maybe what he shoots at one point, but and then so that's what we see clearly. And then when he's firing at, we can also see one of the wings has a big double cannon on it.
Yeah.
Um, and that's at first what I thought he was shooting at the stormtroopers, but he's actually shooting from the wingtips there.
Mhm.
So, and if you look like at the wing, it's got a bunch of little apertures. So, yeah, this thing is just like absolutely loaded with guns. Then it also has the I put this on Twitter. The descriptive audio calls everything it shoots a torpedo. So that little thing at the bottom, I call it in my video. I called it a disruptor cannon, but it's also got that as well. And I think based on some of the shots in the cockpit, it almost looked like it had a rear-facing weapon too that it could deploy, but
Mhm.
he didn't know how to use it. Because yeah, that's like the fun thing. It's got all this firepower, and he's using like he's still only using a fraction of it.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he knows how to turn the shields on or anything.
He barely knew how to turn it on.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't even know how to use the fucking chair.
Do you think it's gonna play into? Do you think we're gonna find anything
I
else out
don't
about
think
it? Like,
so.
I don't. Is it ever gonna come out
I
again?
don't think so.
Which is a little
I
bit
don't.
sad.
Well,
But
maybe later, but I don't think. I mean, they could use it for more. I mean, it's a pretty advanced fighter, so maybe. It was also nice seeing a nice little detail that they had those prototype ties as well, chasing
yeah,
it.
yeah.
That
There's
was
all.
cool.
It's like the Cinar facility, so we get to see. We've done a lot of like shipyard company stuff recently in shows. We have Cinar here. We have the Corellian stuff in Ahsoka.
Yeah, the
So
ship breaking yard or
yeah.
whatever. That was really cool.
So more of that's fine with me.
Yeah,
But
definitely. I still want to see. I still would like to see some sort of orbital ring. I feel like we've never properly seen one in live action. We
yeah,
would have in the original episode 9 script.
we have the
We
ring
were
of
gonna see the eclipse from it.
Kafrine.
Yeah, and I think we will see the ring of Kafrine probably at the very end of this
Yeah,
series, is my guess, because that's where Rogue One picks off.
yeah. I think we're
And
starting like a second before that.
there was some mention of Kafrine, the Kafrine mining colony, in something. What was that?
Wasn't it
Was that
like
in Andor?
Kafrine was the code or something?
Yeah, it must have been.
That was in this set
Oh,
of
it
episodes.
was mentioned in Zero Company as well. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, that's your base in Zero Companies on Kafrine. Your
Right.
XCOM base is built on Kafrine. But the
Correct.
big topic of discourse, and I think our final Andor topic for the night,
Mhm.
is about the sexual assault scene. So Bix, she has the nightmare
Yeah. I think
that,
it's implied she's been assaulted before.
yeah, by the kid who does the food reviews.
Yeah, seriously.
Uh, but yeah, so
Very dark. His career took a dark turn, for being honest.
yeah, and so Tony Gilroy did another interview where this came up, and he's talking about how like he has a limited amount of time to put like all of these different topics into, like all of the ways that these kinds of regimes oppress people, all the forms of violence they use, and this is an important one that factors into all of these kinds of regimes. Like this is a he said it's like a big part of man's history. Uh and
Totally.
yeah, so this like with the presentation the show is, the tone the show is, I think this is like something that
He said something I never thought about before. Like, how many, like, if you go through your family tree, like, how many times has rape been part of your,
yeah,
it's a dark thing to think about. But that's what he said, like, especially during times of war, even from, the good guys. But obviously, the Empire is not the good guys here. And yeah, so I got a little hot water. I think mostly because of the kind of the way that I kind of worded things.
Yeah.
Because I personally am really I don't want to say I'm happy I'm happy the scene is in, but I'm glad that like I think it's a very appropriate for the show, and like it is also kind of, I won't let my kid watch Andor now until he's older, but that's probably, it's worth that being a thing, so
Hmm.
you can actually address adult things, especially when, we're doing a show about war. Women suffer a lot during war, and men too. But my whole thought was that not that it can't be good for the show, and I or that Star Wars should never cover these topics. I think, and we've talked about this in the past, Star Wars in the past has done a very poor
Yeah.
job of covering these topics, where like rape has been used, or incest, or sexual assault has been used for a shock factor, like in that in the black hole story we talked about. But I also do understand why some people aren't really comfortable with that being in Star Wars. And my whole point was, yes, like when you look at what happens to Leia in Jabba's palace, like if that were to happen to someone in the real world, certainly like that would be assault. And it is in the story too, but you also kind of have the context of it being this universe where it happens to Leia and it's kind of just a thing and it moves on. And the OT itself is generally pretty sexless, and it's more of a fairy tale or a fantasy than anything. So it doesn't really get the same kind of attention. Where like in this, it's an attempted violent rape, and for someone who clearly already has PTSD or some sort of stress, and it's going to affect her psyche. I assume it's going to be part of her character probably until the end. So I kind of see why some people would want to keep that fantasy barrier up, or to keep, that from running into Star Wars. For me personally, I'm happy it's in it, but that's
Yeah.
I get it, I guess is my
Like
point.
I think the distinction to make between Return of the Jedi and this is that this is somewhere that would, should, and sort of did have a trigger warning. I don't think it was obvious enough. I think it was very easy to miss, and I would 100%
I
support it
missed it.
being more clear.
Where
Because
was it? I
I
didn't
think
see
it
that.
pops up slightly of like sexual violence or something at the start of the show, and it's like
Okay.
just where they'd have the rating.
I
And
didn't even see that.
yeah, and I think like Return of the Jedi wouldn't have that rating and wouldn't necessarily have that same trigger factor for
Mhm.
reasons that I think, if you dig into the reasons that it wouldn't, are also problematic in themselves. But like I like the implication of what's going on with Leia and Leia's situation are clearly like sexual assault, but
Mhm.
like we're not seeing, I don't want to call it the process, but like we're seeing both the impact on Bix, we're seeing like
Yeah.
the process, like we're seeing the attempted rape. Like it is a different context. And when we've talked about this before, it's usually with reference to Legacy of the Force. So we have
Mhm.
both said that this is something we don't want Star Wars to talk about before. But like the caveat on that is that
Unless they
uh
can do it properly.
yeah, because like what we even said at the time is that because we don't think Troy fucking Denning handled it very well, and we don't trust the
Yeah.
authors to do that. But I think what Tony Gilroy did was like this was like a important use of it. It wasn't just like because like the problem with the Legacy of the Force stuff, and we'll get there. To my memory
Mhm.
at least, is that it's almost presented of like, ooh, this is bad, but also like, isn't this kind of cool that this like because
Tantalizing for
it's
Ben, yeah.
yeah, because it's like Tahiri assaulting
Yeah.
Ben.
She's like, "Oh, yeah, that's" yeah.
Yeah, and
Um,
that is very
and
much not how Andor is using this.
and I think that's kind of like, and like I gotta be careful because I don't want to like offend anybody, and I feel like I did, and that wasn't on purpose. But like when part of the problem is George Lucas
Yeah,
and how he does things, because I genuinely believe that George Lucas was not trying to. I don't think he was trying to set up a situation where that is what the audience thinks. I understand, or what the audience think. I understand why they think that. I think George Lucas thought she would be displayed like, look at any old serial fantasy novel like Conan the Barbarian, or I mean that's maybe a bad example because they do talk about
Well, I think the
where
fundamental
like
issue there is that it's because women are not being used, like they're not characters in that setup, right? They're like
right
in Peach is not functioning as a character with her own thoughts about being in that situation other than like
ex-
she'd rather not be there. It's a thing, like she is a thing for Mario to rescue.
yeah, the Peach Bowser one is good where like, Bowser can have Peach chained to his wrist and like marrying her, and like as an adult like you kind of understand like like if that were to happen to someone in the real world, especially like with what marriage is associated with, you understand it. But like as a kid watching the Jabba the Hutt scene, like I understand that Leia is meant to be embarrassed and she's meant to be like cow, like not cow, but she's meant to be like I don't know. She's meant to be taken down a notch, basically. Um, and like part of it is that George Lucas makes it so weird because she's in the bikini, and if he does want to do the, she's the princess, because Jabba himself is also kind of like a sexless creature. Like he's a giant, gross slug, who doesn't seem to see humans that way. But he like, and then he puts her in like this very scantily clad gold bikini, and that like makes the kind of implications more uncomfortable, I guess.
Yeah,
And
then the implications are uncomfortable on like also the intent of the scene though, where
yeah,
like
and I mean he does something similar in Indiana Jones where um Marion, Indiana Jones' girlfriend, like when she meets him, again, she says we were I was a child last time we met, and like everyone's like, oh, okay, like she was like 18 and he was 20. Like she was initially supposed to be like 12 and he was supposed to, or like 14, and Indiana Jones was a grown male. So it's like there's a whole list of like things that George Lucas probably doesn't handle well.
yeah.
But that's still, you got to be able to distinguish that it's not the same as what happens in Andor. It's not handled like it's not something that like it's not really a part of Leia's journey in the movie. Well, I guess it could be, but even in the movie, Leia, she's kind of just along for the ride. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Well,
it's just not the same.
the other complaint that I saw about this that like I take a bit more seriously than the idea that the Empire would never condone this, uh, is that like women can have characterization, growth, and trouble without it having to be like sexual assault or
Yeah.
something. And I think that's more the the thing that stops me from thinking that is just how this is being used is that there are multiple female characters,
Yeah.
and like Bix isn't the only female character in a show. Where in a lot of other shows, uh, there'd be like sometimes just the one main female character, so she ends up having to be a
Yeah.
stand-in for
Andor's
all of
definitely
women's
past the
experience.
professional path.
Yeah, so like I don't think that's how this is being used. I do think Bix has been I'd support a world where Bix doesn't have to have any more trauma of varying kinds because she's been through basically everything.
Unfortunately, yeah. I, I I don't think it's gonna get too much happier for anyone. Um, but yeah, like that's like another thing about Star Wars too, and like that's the problem with it. With what's her name from Saris, where like her disgusting like it. For those who haven't read the article, it's implied that she, or not implied. It's stated that she's assaulted as either a baby or a child by her father and her child's friend, and that is treated basically as something that just makes her evil, part of what makes her evil, and like that's kind of the worst possible way to do this.
Yeah.
In a like in Andor is the opposite, where it's a show that's well written, it's mature. There are other characters, and it's not like, okay, we need the one female character to get assaulted because we need to show that things are getting serious.
Yeah.
It's like you've got a variety of female characters. Some of them, most of them, have some sort of trauma. You know, what Mon Mothma is going through is very different than what Cinta is going through. Is very different than Marva Andor went through, or any of the other characters. So yeah, that I think that complaint is a little less founded, but I do get it.
Yeah. So overall, Andor season 2, very I don't know how to move on from that, but yeah, really enjoyed it so far. Uh, any further thoughts there that you want to bring up about the show?
Looked great so far. Like you can tell that they're making sets, and the opening chase sequence is really cool. It's also really well written. Written.
Litten.
I meant to
The
say
Pokemon?
written and lit. Litten is fine. Like someone was posting. I'm sure you saw it. They were comparing it to Rebel Moon, which looks like it's recorded with like a blue-gray piece of paper over the camera.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's like the one show where like I'm watching a scene, especially like a dialogue focused scene, and I don't have to worry about like them saying something stupid Star Warsy. You know what I mean? Like I don't have to worry about them. Like in The Mandalorian, God bless Carl Weathers, but like if they gave him more than like 6 lines of dialogue, like I knew there was gonna be something that like, and again, God bless him, God rest his soul. I knew there was going to be something that was a little bit cringy or a little bit silly. Where this is like, this is not them trying to make Star Wars into a show. They fully made a fully competently made show.
Yeah.
And there just is a different feel to it.
Yeah, like one of the things that I was thinking regularly through the show was like, it's great that they didn't feel the need to have someone say something here. Like they're confident in their ability to tell a story or have the audience understand something without someone saying really like just something entirely unnecessary. Like sure, you have Krennic being kind of camp and we have Palpatine's unlimited energy policy, but like that's not the dialogue being bad. That's like
I'm pretty
working
sure
in
Trump
kind of
said
a
unlimited
nod.
energy policy last week. I thought Krennic's been great, honestly.
Yeah. And he plays Dark Souls.
Yeah, he plays Dark Souls, which is really cool. Like someone said, like there's like a very openly gay side of Star Wars Twitter, and like they've been in love with Krennic this past few days. Like someone tweeted like someone's finally realized you can make any villain better by making them like a little flamboyantly gay, which like he's not actually, but I love what he's bringing to the role. He's got, and I actually think it's appropriate too, because we're seeing Krennic like operating among people that he's clearly in charge of.
Yeah.
Like he can be as flamboyant and as bossy and as like whatever as he wants, because these are people who can't touch him. When he's with Moff Tarkin, on the other hand, or when his project is at risk, or when he's stressed, then he turns a bit more weaselly. Like just I've said it a million times, but the Zach said I have it on my soundboard. I'm gonna have to look for it, but the no notes at the beginning of the thing, it just sent me. He's just clearly having so much fun with the role. I'm really glad they got him back, and yeah, he adds a lot to the show, and I'm excited to see what K2SO brings as well, because he is also super funny.
Yeah.
And I will just end with, Andor is clearly political, but I guess one thing I realized kind of thinking about the show is they don't care that they may or may not be rebel sympathizers, or that they may have been involved with the with what happened on Ferrix. They're really just cracking down on them because they're undocumented immigrants, basically. So the it's somewhat timely for like the fascist imperial regime cracking down on the undocumented immigrants who are just trying to harvest food and live their life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But
just take. You
before
can
we
see
go,
Andor episode 4 tomorrow if you go on Twitter.
but before we go, we have a few emails. I do want to get back to some emails here. From
No.
From Dan over at Star Wars Centralized on YouTube. Check his channel out. We have Hey Corey and Eck. I'm going to start with the PS. He says, P.S. Sorry for any beef in the past, Eck. You're cool.
I can't remember when I have beef with. No worries.
But his question.
No.
Gotta keep notes on who you're beefing with, Justin. But he says, longtime fan of the show, having a lot of fun with your Legacy and Darkness coverage right now. At least Justin's not having fun with the Legacy coverage. Your discussions in the Unseen Queen episode have reassured me in my opinion that the main issue with this trilogy is that it makes Han, Luke, Leia the absolute main characters again. Look at the covers, lol. I think NJO should have been the last hurrah for that trio as the absolute central figures in Star Wars stories. Darkness needed to be centrally about Jason and Jaina, maybe even Anakin, but instead it uses them to move the plot around as secondary characters. Jaina's treatment in this trilogy sticks out the most to me here. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, it gets more and more ludicrous the older they get, where, Han's pushing 70, he'll be pushing 80 or in his 80s later on. And it ends up being, kind of the same stories over and over again. And not just that, like, it's been happening so long that we get cycles of Leia wanting to be a Jedi. She doesn't have time for a Jedi. She goes back to politics. She goes back to training. And at that point, it's like, it's probably time to start looking at other characters to step in. So yeah, fully agree with that.
Yeah, and I think we were getting back to them thinking they're making that decision again with Jaina in Sword of the Jedi before that was canceled, but I feel like that probably would have ended up in the same situation where like Crucible was supposed to be the finale for them, but we would have ended up with like 90-year-old Han, 80-year-old Luke and Leia getting like roped back into it, because when there weren't new movies coming out, it would have been very difficult to have this new generation of characters that could draw in new readers, and as soon as the people die off, it's just gone. So it's
like,
difficult.
like the covers do blatantly show, the issue with the novels in that the cover is, I think it's Han, Leia, then Luke in that order. But it's also like, if I'm a kid, 8 years old, and I was a kid 8 years old at one point, and I go into a bookstore, I was gonna say Chapters. I don't think Chapters, it's Indigo now. If I go into Indigo or Chapters, like, I'm gonna be a lot more interested in Luke shooting Force lightning with a giant fucking ant next to him than
Jason.
a character I don't know.
Yeah.
Although I do remember being particularly interested in Jorah Sabayoth, that cover of him. I just remember thinking, like, he looks like the Emperor, but kind of crazier. I was like, he must be the Emperor's master or something.
Wrong. All right, but thank you, Dan.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll be talking a lot more about that as we go through like Legacy of the Force and especially Crucible. Yeah. We have a question from Todd about Maul Shadow Lord sent in a font color that is actually very close to the white of the email, so I have to highlight it to read it. Do you think the introduction of Maul as apprentice is a vehicle to carry the Sith Order in the post-sequel era? From an in-universe perspective, he trained under the Sith Lord of his era and got knowledge from primary sources, whereas books like Rise of the Red Blade make it clear the Inquisitors were not privy to Sith teachings. From an out-of-universe perspective, it's hard to sell movie tickets to a movie with Jedi in it without the premise of lightsaber duels. Finally, would you want to see post-sequel era Sith abandon the rule of two?
I don't know. I haven't. That's a lot to think about. At first I thought he was talking about that Maul lockdown. I don't know why
No.
he said Maul Shadow Lord, and I just thought Maul Lockdown, the book where he fights the Yuuzhan Vong. I don't know. Yeah, I can't answer that. I'm not sure. I know it's a crappy answer, but I don't know. Like, they got to do something interesting. I don't know what form that takes.
I think like they could definitely be setting up the character as something that can be used later on in other situations. And I'm perfectly happy with having like different Sith adjacent characters, Dark Jedi, or whatever other term you want to use for it. I do think you need to have lightsaber users or something like lightsaber users to fight each other for Star Wars movies, because like if you don't get a lightsaber
Yeah.
duel, then it's less
What's
fun.
going on here?
Look, I know we're talking about Andor. I know there's a tendency among certain elements of Andor's fandom to look down upon the Ahsoka enjoyers, but I liked Ahsoka too. I thought it was good choreography in those duels.
I really like Ahsoka.
I
I thought that, yeah, I thought the
like.
choreography was excellent.
I think we can have both things. I think you can. I think Andor existing doesn't mean the other stuff can't also be fun, or that you're stupid if you enjoy them both, or if you enjoy Ahsoka or something like that, or like Episode 3. But yeah, I don't care about the rule of two being kept or not. I think the rule of two did its thing. I don't think they need to keep it around. Like I could see a Jedi War or something.
Yeah, I like the idea. In Legends of this too many times, but Secret Sith Sect can be fun, or like Secret Sith Council watching from the distance.
Yeah,
can be fun, but I think you only get one shot.
I feel like you could have, without wanting to, like, if you have, Sith Emperor's back kind of deal, or we're stopping a Sith Empire thing, I think that's kind of played out. But I feel like there would be potentially even room for some kind of like Sith spirit necromancy mystery movie kind of deal, where it's kind of like Palpatine coming back and that there's this Sith Lord who's trying to get back to life, but where it's not this galaxy spanning story in the same way. It's more about the mythology. Maybe that is too close to Exegol, but I don't know.
I remember liking when I thought the introduction of White Eyes was really cool.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to. Yeah, I'm open to whatever. But yeah, I'm glad both exist. I'm glad we can have a show like Andor, and then a show like Ahsoka with Episode 1 has Ryder giving
Strong
a speech
from
to
Boy
the
Meets
crowd
World.
on. No, Ryder is what is it,
Asadi
from giving a speech. It's Clancy Brown giving a speech.
Yeah, but we also had a live action Rebels character in Andor today. So
yeah, I apparently it's like one of the guards. I love Rebels, but don't know it that much. Don't know it that well. I mean,
thank you, Todd. Our final question in emails from today, tapcaftransmissions@gmail.com, is from Joel Davis from Ion Canon, saying, "Hello, Tapcaf Transmissions. This might be a bit of an odd question, but sometimes I can't help but wonder if the post-Andor Legends continuity diminishes the original trilogy just a little bit. I think about this because with Luke, Han, and Leia continuing to have adventures, as we kind of talked about in Dan's question, they eventually face conflicts." He didn't include that. He's not. Maybe he's psychic. I don't believe in psychics, but hey, maybe he is. I don't want to speak for you, Joel. They eventually face conflicts that one could argue are even larger and grander than what they were originally known for, namely defeating the Empire and the Emperor. Yuuzhan Vong and Abaloth, for example, are enemies who are arguably more terrifying and perhaps even more powerful than Palpatine. It would be one thing if the original trilogy trio took more of a backseat and let the next generation handle things. Stories like Legacy work well in that regard, since they're set 100 years later. But I do wonder sometimes if the post-Andor Legends timeline undercuts the impact of the original trilogy a bit. Anyways, thanks for taking my question. Love the podcast.
I mean, in a way, for sure. But I think they are still the defining moments of most of the characters' lives, I'd say. Well, at least they're not, if not, they're not the most defining moments. Like,
it's what establishes them in the galaxy's eyes.
Yeah, it's like when I got 10,000 subscribers, and then I got 30,000 subscribers. Like,
yeah, Luke blowing up the Death Star. That's kind of like when I got 10,000 subscribers.
Yeah, or I got the million plaque over my shoulder. Like,
shut the fuck up. How about that?
I went on my way specifically to mention milestones you hit. Is the so like, is the milestone any less? I don't know. But the books are also, they do kind of help in that they're made for people who just jump in. So
yeah,
and who are fans of the movies more than any. So even though like by the end of it, the Battle of Yavin is just like one of 1,000 times Luke jumped in an X-wing and like he did like 9 battles of Yavin in the Swarm War by himself. They do still kind of remain the grounding points, I guess.
Yeah, like in the least dismissive way possible, I don't care. We're like, I don't need the movies to be the biggest things that they do. So maybe it does diminish the importance of those actions in some way, but like I don't it when I'm reading the books, like I maybe it's just because I think about it where like I got into Star Wars more from the books. So if the books are kind of taking the bigger stories in a sense compared to what the movies do with the original trilogy, that isn't something that I've ever really thought about as being a positive or a negative. Uh,
Mhm.
like I feel like if you're trying to say that the movies, like if you're making Star Wars and you're trying to say like nothing they do can be more important or more impactful than the movies, then it probably makes the books feel worse. Because one of the nice things with books is that you can do stuff that is bigger than movies because you don't have to worry about the budget. Like you just write 60 instead of 10 ships.
Yeah.
It would be like I feel like you can go the wrong direction with that and have every book just have like so much that outscales the movies. But I think like the Thrawn trilogy, that conflict didn't really outscale the original trilogy. The Yuuzhan Vong War did. Maybe Abaloth did. Maybe Abaloth went too far, but it was a different kind of threat. So I think it was
Yeah.
like dealing with different styles of threat, sometimes dealing with bigger conflicts, but they were different conflicts. And there was still like a lot of emphasis put on the fact of like Luke and Wedge and whoever were like heroes because of that era, teaching the new generation, even if they were still
Yeah.
possibly too active. But yeah, I don't think it did overshadow it, and I don't necessarily think it would have been a problem if it did.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Now give me my 100,000 plaque, YouTube. I
Yeah.
only need 40,000 more subscribers. Just over
Get it done.
halfway
Next year, I think.
there. Maybe. I need to make more videos that'll just make people angry, apparently. Look, you look at the
Good
analytics
at
and you
that.
see that new viewers who returned, low. Not what you want to see. Not what you want to see.
But they hit the button first.
No.
Damn.
Look, at 400 a month, I'll get 80 months and I'll get there. Anyways,
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll get there.
we are going to be heading over to youtube.com/ECKSTOO. Reminder, episodes after this one will be on Wednesday night, so the night after Andor shows up on your TV screens. So it was supposed to be this week as well, but I had a condo meeting that I had to go to. So yeah, Thursdays are no more for the rest of the summer. We'll revisit that choice later on. Anything you'd like to say to the nice folks at home, Justin?